Self-forgiveness is the most underrated manifestation practice. Because when you're holding a grudge against yourself, part of you is reaching for the future and part of you is still chained to the past. Psychology shows us that unprocessed self-judgment doesn't just sit in your head, it conditions your body. Shame alters how your nervous system responds to life. It pulls you into cycles of hyper-awareness, scanning for proof that you're still unworthy. And over time, those cycles become habits of thought and emotion, reinforcing themselves until guilt starts feeling familiar, almost protective. But what feels safe isn't always what sets you free. Today, you're going to find out why everything you're asking for is waiting for your permission. Let's cue the reel. Forgiveness doesn't rewrite your past. It rewrites your relationship with it. It shifts you out of punishment and into possibility. And in that shift, your future stops being this moving target you can't catch and becomes the natural next chapter you're already aligned with. That's why self-forgiveness is more than healing. It aids you in your creation. Welcome back. And to anyone who's new here, this is Cue the Reel. I'm your host, Lindsay Brand. This podcast is about manifestation without all the fluff, the raw, grounded truth about how your energy shapes your reality. Now, we've touched on self-forgiveness, and the real manifestation block here is when the past won't stay in the past because you keep it alive in your mind. You replay the scene and your body doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know if it's then or now. Your stomach's in knots, your chest might tighten, your pulse spikes, and it feels like it's happening all over again. One memory, and suddenly, all that energy from the past is back. That's what rumination does. It drags the past into the present and forces you to live it twice, or however many times you choose to repeat it. You think you're protecting yourself by staying alert, by keeping the wound open as a warning to not repeat it. But what you're really doing is tying your energy to a moment that no longer exists. Self-forgiveness is the cut of that rope. It's what stops the loop. It doesn't rewrite the scene. It frees you from having to keep rehearsing it with your whole nervous system. Neuroscience shows us that your brain and body don't separate thought from experience as neatly as you may think. When you replay a memory charged with shame or regret, your nervous system fires as if it's happening now. Cortisol floods your body, your muscles brace, and your mind starts scanning for proof that you're still unsafe or still feeling guilty. That constant reliving wires patterns. The more you revisit the scene, the faster your brain builds the track back to it. What feels like self-punishment is really conditioning. You're training yourself to stay in the past, and that conditioning becomes a block because manifestation depends on the energy you're holding now. This is why self-forgiveness is so powerful. It stops your body from living in the past by telling your nervous system that the danger is over, that the story no longer controls you. When you finally release it, the energy you are pouring into that old pain is free to move and free to create something new. Rumination is something I am guilty of, especially at night when I'm falling asleep. I find myself replaying things in my head. And lately, though, I have been accepting of what has happened, and I trust that that was supposed to happen. And if I did not like it, I learn from it, and I can take that lesson with me into new experiences. I've also been reading this book before bed called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David Hawkins. It's all about surrendering, and there's just something about surrendering to me and saying that word that really lets me let go. Even in a situation that is live and happening in the present moment, if I'm getting upset from something, I just tell myself to surrender to the moment, that things are happening and I should let the universe do what it's doing. That's what I've been doing with those thoughts before bed as well. For instance, I started playing in that basketball league I mentioned last episode. First of all, it was 4 days ago and I can still barely walk from playing full court basketball for 2 straight hours. Anyway, I kept having ruminating thoughts that I was the only girl playing with these grown men. They probably don't want me to play, don't think I'm good enough, etc. I had those thoughts for 2 nights and I finally decided to just surrender to them. I said, so what? Am I enjoying it? Do I want to keep playing and getting better and learning from them? Am I good even though I haven't touched a ball in 5+ years? Yes, I am. I kept up. I scored, my defense got multiple compliments, and those thoughts coupled with surrender shut everything down that was making me feel uptight. Another practical way to step out of that loop of rumination is to treat yourself like a friend. Imagine a friend came to you or called you with the exact same memory that you're ruminating about, the same guilt, the same self-judgment. What would you say to them? You'd likely tell them it's okay, that they've grown, that carrying it forward isn't helping anyone, and you'd encourage them to let it go and focus on what's next. Now try giving yourself that same grace. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend. Acknowledge what happened, accept that it's in the past, and remind yourself that you're not defined by it. When your body tenses and your mind starts replaying the scene, pause and consciously let the words sink in. Let the rope you've been holding on to finally slip through your hand. This is radical. It interrupts the patterns that have been running you. Over time, these small, deliberate acts of self-forgiveness become the bridge that allows your energy to flow into new experiences instead of living in the past. Another layer to this work is noticing how quickly your body reacts when a memory surfaces. You might think you're just thinking about the past, but your nervous system is already in motion. Any tension that you feel is energy, and until it's released, it anchors you to the past. Observing it without judgment is the first step toward letting go. A tool I've been practicing lately is naming the sensation as it arises in the body. I might say to myself, this is tension, or this is tightness, or this is anger. This is the part of me that's still stuck. Simply noticing it out loud or in your mind interrupts the automatic loop that can play. It signals your nervous system that it doesn't need to react the same way, that you're aware and you're in control. That small act is important because it pulls your energy out of the past and into the present. The beauty of these practices, reframing as if you're speaking to a friend, naming your feelings, and surrendering all work together. They give your nervous system permission to calm down. Release the old and redirect energy to what you actually want to create. You're no longer stuck running on autopilot with the past as your director. You become the director of your own energy, your own attention, and your own life. Most people think the same thoughts every single day. Change the script. Change your life. Think about something new each day that gets you closer to where you want to be. Live in the place where you're desiring to be. Be that person, not the person that is from the past, especially not from a place of judgment toward that person either. I hope this helps any of you who are struggling with forgiving yourself to do so and to move on with your energy in a better place. Thank you so much for listening and for taking this step into self-forgiveness. The listeners of this podcast are multiplying so quickly. Something I absolutely manifested, but I'll admit it still feels surreal when your manifestation comes into reality. Knowing these words are reaching more of you each week only confirms that this work matters. If you've been moved by today's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review and hit follow or subscribe. Even though our community is growing, reviews haven't kept pace, and they are one of the simplest ways to help these messages reach the people who need them most. Your words could be the nudge that brings someone else into this circle at exactly the right time. I'll leave you with this today. Holding on to old guilt is like pacing a locked room with the key in your pocket. Forgive yourself and open the door into the light you were meant to live in. I'll see you all again next Tuesday.